Welcome back to another episode of Will This Plant Survive My Fish Keeping Skills? Today we're ranking 14 beginner plants from absolute disasters to complete legends. We've all been plant serial killers at some point, okay? I'm about to spill tea on which plants are worth it and which ones are straight up not having a good time. Let's dive in. Okay, besties, let's talk about the absolute main character of beginner aquarium plants, Anubias. This plant literally said, "I'm built different," and then proceeded to back it up with facts. We're talking about a plant genus that gives Swiss Army knife energy because there's so many varieties available. You got your tiny Anubias Nana Petite, that's perfect for nanotanks, and then you got absolute units in the Anubias Barteri family. That can reach ridiculous heights. There's Anubias Golden with that blonde moment aesthetic. Anubias Pinto that's serving variegated realness. And even fancy varieties that cost more than your monthly coffee budget. What makes Anubias absolutely chef's kiss is that it's literally epiphytic, which means it doesn't need to be buried in substrate and can just vibe attached to rocks or driftwood. The rhizome, the little thick horizontal stem part, that needs to stay above substrate or it'll literally rot away, and that's not the energy we want. Fish absolutely refuse to munch on these because the leaves are tougher than your phone screen protector. So, you don't have to worry about your goldfish turning your expensive plant into a salad. The only L that Anubias takes is that it grows slower than your patience when someone leaves you unread. We're talking about a snail's pace here, which is honestly a little frustrating when you want that lush aquascape aesthetic immediately, but here's the thing, slow growth means less maintenance, less trimming, and more time to focus on other tank drama. Professional aquascapers literally swear by Anubias because it is just so versatile. You can use the tiny varieties as foreground accents, medium ones for mid-ground focal points, and massive varieties as background statement pieces. The plant is native to West Africa and has been absolutely dominating the aquarium trade since forever because it is just that reliable. This plant is given S-tier energy and deserves every bit of the hype it gets. Insert crowd cheering sound clip here. Now, Java moss is like the golden retriever of aquarium plants, and I mean that in the best way possible, okay? This moss is one of the easiest to care for in the hobby. Scientific name, Taxiphyllum barbieri, and it's native to Southeast Asia where it grows on literally everything. Rocks, tree trunks, basically any surface that stays still long enough. What's absolutely amazing about Java moss is how bulletproof this plant is. There are documented cases of this moss surviving in forgotten buckets for like 2 months and still being green and ready to thrive. Given apocalypse survivor energy, and honestly, we are here for it. This plant doesn't even have real roots. It has these tiny little things called rhizoids that just grab onto surfaces and hold on for dear life. Fish think Java moss tastes absolutely mid, so they won't touch it, which is a massive W for plant keepers. This moss creates a dense, fluffy texture that's perfect for baby fish and shrimp to hide in. And man, shrimp absolutely love grazing on the biofilm that grows on the moss. It's given 5-star hotel vibes for your tank inhabitants. And unlike Anubias, the growth rate is impressive. We're talking 1 to 1.5 inches per month, when the conditions are right. You can seriously take a tiny piece, stick it anywhere in your tank, and watch it spread over time. Aquascapers using fishing line or cotton thread to attach it to the hardscape, they just see this awesome moss grow all over the attachment points, like you can't even see them anymore. So let's talk about water parameters. Java moss, they don't care. pH from 5 to 8.0, temperatures from 59 all the way up to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. This plant is giving I'm not picky energy, low light, high light, no CO2, with CO2. It's all good. The only thing that might stress Java moss is that if, maybe you have absolutely zero water circulation, but even then it'll probably survive just despite. This moss is definitely earning its A-tier placement because it is reliable, beautiful, and practically impossible to mess up. Just like you, friend. Now, Java Fern is giving sophisticated older sibling energy to Java moss, and honestly, they're both absolute legends in their own right. Scientific name, Microsorum terapus, and this fern is native to Southeast Asia, where it grows attached to rocks and wood along riverbanks. This plant has this gorgeous, distinctive leaf shape that's absolutely instantly recognizable and adds serious visual interest to any aquascape. What's wild about Java Fern is how it propagates. This plant literally grows tiny baby ferns on the undersides of its leaves that look like these dark spots, but they're actually little plantlets developing their own little root systems. And when they're ready, you can just pluck them off and attach them somewhere else in your tank. Like a plant nursery vibe that's just so satisfying to watch. This plant's another epiphyte, so just like Java moss and Anubias, it doesn't need to be planted in substrate. In fact, burying the rhizome is a guaranteed way to kill it because it'll rot faster than expired milk. You want to attach it to driftwood or rocks using some fishing line or plant glue, and it'll just anchor itself over time with those little rhizoids. Java Fern is absolutely unimpressed by low light conditions, and it'll thrive in tanks where other plants would absolutely give up. No CO2? No problem. Basic aquarium lighting? Perfect. Fish that constantly mess with plants? Man, these thick, leathery leaves are way too tough for most fish to damage, so your plant investment is safe. We're going to label the growth rate as moderate. Not as slow as Anubias, but not as fast as stem plants, so you get that sweet spot of a steady progress without constant maintenance. And the plant can reach some decent heights, making it perfect for mid-ground or background placement depending on your tank size. One thing to watch out for is that older leaves can collect algae over time because they're so durable, but adding some algae-eating crew usually handles that issue. Java Fern is absolutely deserving of its A-tier status because it's reliable, gorgeous, practically foolproof. Anacharis, also known as Elidea, is native to North America and has been absolutely dominating freshwater environments since forever, which is both its superpower and its potential problem. First, the good news. Anacharis is an absolute oxygenating machine. We're talking serious production during the day when photosynthesis is hitting different. Fish absolutely love snacking on this plant, which can be either a feature or a bug, depending on your perspective. If you got some herbivorous fish or you're trying to supplement their diet with fresh greens, well, Anacharis is serving main course energy. But if you want a plant that stays pristine and architectural, this might not be your plant. And the growth rate's pretty impressive too. The stuff grows fast and bushy, creating excellent cover for baby fish and adding that natural wild aquarium aesthetic. It's super easy to propagate because you just cut a piece and stick it in your substrate or let it float, and it'll just start growing. But here's where things get a little spicy. Anacharis is literally banned or restricted in multiple states and countries, well, because it's considered invasive. Yeah, so before you add this to your cart, you should probably check your local regulations because this plant has zero chill when it comes to taking over natural water bodies. If it escapes your tank and gets into local waterways, it can wreak havoc on native ecosystem, and that's not cool. This plant's hardy, and it can survive in a huge range of conditions, which is part of what makes it so successful in the wild. Low light, high light, cold water, warm water, Anacharis is given "I can adapt to anything" energy. It's definitely earning that A-tier placement for beginners because it's so easy to grow, but you gotta be responsible about disposal and make sure you're following local laws, you little criminal. Oh boy, let's talk about Cryptocoryne. Plant that's absolutely serving drama queen energy, but in the most endearing way possible. These plants are native to tropical regions across Asia, and they've been in the aquarium hobby since, literally the late 1700s. So they got vintage credibility. Cryptocorynes are absolutely gorgeous with their diverse leaf shapes and colors. You got everything from bright green Wend tea varieties to deep red Beckety types, and the sizes range from tiny parva that work as foreground carpet to massive balensae that can tower over your entire tank. The variety is honestly, it's overwhelming, but in the best possible way, and it's given options for every aquascape aesthetic. Here's where crypts get their reputation for being dramatic. Crypt melt is absolutely real, and it's going to test your patience. When you first plant these beauties, they might literally fake their own death within the first week or two. The leaves will start turning yellow and then brown and completely dissolve until you're left staring at, well, what looks like bare substrate, wondering if you just flushed money down the drain. But wait, there's more! The reason this happens is actually kind of fascinating from a plant biology perspective. Listen up. Most commercial crypts are grown immersed, meaning above water at nurseries because it's more efficient. When you pluck them underwater in your tank, they need to be completely restructured in their leaves to handle the submerged lifestyle. It's given complete makeover energy, and the plant literally absorbs its old leaves to fuel growing new underwater adapted ones. The key with crypt melt is patience, and absolutely not moving the plant around. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Keep conditions stable, and in a few weeks, you'll start seeing tiny new shoots emerging from the roots. And these new leaves will be thinner, more delicate, and perfectly adapted to your tank conditions. Once established, crypts are absolutely incredible. They're hardy, beautiful, and they can thrive in low-tech setups for years. Root tabs are definitely recommended because crypts are heavy root feeders. They prefer nutrient-rich substrates, and they're also sensitive to major parameter changes, so consistency is key. No massive water changes, no relocating plants, no dramatic lighting adjustments. Crypts want stability, and if you give them that, they'll reward you with these gorgeous, long-lasting stunts of growth. This drama queen behavior definitely earns them a B-tier placement because once you get past the initial melt phase, they are absolutely worth it. Now, water wisteria is honestly giving overachiever energy in the best and most chaotic way possible. Scientific name, Hygrophila deformis. And that deformis part, yeah, might sound like deformed. That's what it means, irregularly formed. Science. Which is perfect, because this plant absolutely cannot decide what it wants its leaves to look like when it grows up. Above water, it's got these broad oval leaves, but underwater it develops these gorgeous, lacy, feathery leaves that are absolutely stunning. It's native to South and Southeast Asia, where it grows in marshes and flooded areas, and it has been absolutely dominating the aquarium hobby since the 1970s. What makes water wisteria such a legend is its incredible versatility. You can plant it in substrate as a background plant, or let it float at the surface where it'll develop this awesome root system that hangs down, creating underwater forest vibes. And the growth rate is absolutely wild. I mean, this plant is a straight up nitrate vacuum that'll demolish excess nutrients in your water. But here's the thing, that fast growth does mean it's constantly shedding older leaves and creating plant debris that you do need to clean up. It's giving helpful, but messy energy. When you first plant water wisteria, expect some melting drama similar to Crypts, but way less intense. The immersed leaves will turn yellow and drop off as the plant transitions into producing those gorgeous underwater ones. This usually takes a couple weeks to a month depending on your lighting and nutrients, but the plant absolutely thrives with decent lighting and liquid fertilizers, and while CO2 isn't required, it definitely speeds up the transition process and growth. Water wisteria can reach heights of 20 inches and spread almost a foot wide when left to its own devices. So it's definitely not for nano tanks unless you enjoy constant trimming sessions. What's really cool is that this plant is so effective at nutrient uptake, it can actually help prevent algae blooms in new tanks or heavily stocked systems. The trade-off is that it might outcompete other plants for nutrients, so you might need to dose more fertilizers if you've got a mixed planted tank. The plant definitely earns its B tier placement because it's incredibly useful and beautiful, but requires some more active management than the A and S tier options. Amazon Frogbit. It's literally the floating plant that figured out how to be manageable, and honestly, we stan a plant that knows boundaries. Scientific name, Limnobium laevigatum. This gorgeous floating plant is native to Central and South America, where it naturally occurs in slow-moving waters and wetlands. What makes the Frogbit so absolutely elite among floating plants is its growth pattern. Unlike other floating plants that shall remain nameless but rhyme with duckweed, hint hint, Frogbit actually respects your tank space and won't completely take over your entire water surface overnight. The leaves are heart-shaped and they're gorgeous, ranging from bright green to slightly bronze depending on lighting conditions. Oh, and the plant produces these amazing lily pad style leaves that float on top of the surface, and underneath you get this incredible root system that can grow several inches long. The roots are honestly architectural. They're white, flowing, and create this amazing underwater curtain effect that fish will absolutely adore swimming through. Baby fish and shrimp use these roots as little nurseries and hiding spots. It's adorable. The Amazon Frogbit is also incredibly efficient at nutrient uptake, which means it's constantly working to keep your water parameters in check. The plant absorbs excess nutrients directly from the water column, preventing algae blooms and keeping nitrate levels reasonable. It's giving natural filtration system energy, which is sick. The care requirements are pretty minimal. Decent lighting, stable water parameters, and that's about it. The plant can handle a pretty wide range of conditions and does not need CO2 or special fertilizers to thrive. One thing to watch is for surface agitation, because Frogbit prefers calmer water conditions, so if you got strong filter outputs creating waves, you might want to use a feeding ring to create a protected area. Now, propagation is super straightforward here, because the plant produces runners that develop new plantlets, so you'll naturally get more plants over time. When you need to thin it out, you can just remove excess plants and either compost them or share them with other aquarists. Be cool like that. This plant earns its S tier placement because it provides all the benefits of floating plants without the chaos and takeover drama. Now, water sprites honestly give an identity crisis energy, but in an endearing way. This plant cannot decide if it wants to be a rooted background plant or a floating surface plant, so it said, why not both? And it just vibes wherever you want it. Scientific name, Ceratopteris thalictroides. It's native to tropical and some subtropical regions worldwide. Cool. When planted in substrate, water sprite develops these gorgeous, lacy, bright green leaves that create this awesome texture in planted tanks. The leaves are super delicate and feathery, given that underwater forest aesthetic that makes your tank look professional even when you have no idea what you're doing. As a planted specimen, it can reach impressive heights and creates excellent background coverage. Here's where things get interesting. If you let water Sprite float at the surface, it completely changes its growth pattern and develops broader, more rounded floating leaves with extensive root systems hanging down in the water column. It's honestly giving chameleon energy with how dramatically it adapts to different placement options. The growth rate's absolutely sending because this plant is a serious nutrient hog. It'll absorb nitrates, phosphates, and other waste products so efficiently it can actually help cycle new tanks or handle heavy bioloads, which means it is perfect for goldfish tanks or other messy fish setups where you need some serious filtration help, because they be pooping. Propagation is ridiculously easy because water Sprite produces plantlets along the edges of its leaves that you can just remove and plant elsewhere. The parent plant is constantly generating new babies, so you'll have a steady supply of new plants without having to buy more. The main consideration is that water Sprite grows fast enough you'll need to stay on top of that trimming, especially if you're using it as a planted specimen. And the delicate leaves can be damaged by boisterous fish, but the plant regenerates so quickly it usually doesn't matter. Water Sprite definitely earns its B-tier placement because it's super useful and beautiful, but requires more active management than higher tier options. My boy Salvinia here is like the cool younger cousin to Amazon Frogbit, and it's serving tiny green taco energy floating on your water surface. Awesome. There are several species in the Salvinia genus, but they're all giving similar vibes with their unique 3-leaf arrangements and fuzzy water-repelling surfaces. What makes Salvinia absolutely adorable is the leaf structure. Each node is 3 leaves with 2 floating on the surface and 1 submerged that's modified into these feathery root-type structures. The floating leaves have this amazing water-repellent coating that makes water droplets just roll right off, and they're covered in tiny hairs that trap air and they help the plant stay buoyant. The plant is perfect for tanks where you want floating plant benefits but Amazon Frogbit isn't available, or you want something with a different aesthetic. Salvinia provides excellent surface coverage for fish that prefer dimmer lighting, and the submerged root structures create these fantastic hiding spots for fry and shrimp. Propagation happens through runners and fragmentation, so the plant naturally spreads across the water's surface at a reasonable pace. And that is way more manageable than aggressive floaters, but still provides excellent nutrient uptake and natural filtration. It doesn't require any special care beyond the basic aquarium conditions and some decent lighting. One thing that's honestly kind of cute is that Salvinia can form these floating mats in nature that are thick enough for small animals to walk on. So in your aquarium, it creates this lush floating garden aesthetic that makes your tank look super natural and established even when it's still relatively new. And it works super well in a huge range of water parameters, and it does not need CO2 or special fertilizers. Just decent lighting and stable conditions, Salvinia will absolutely thrive. It definitely deserves that A-tier placement because it provides all the floating plant benefits with minimal drama and maximum aesthetic value. All right, folks, we gotta have a serious conversation about duckweed because this plant's unhinged and I need everyone to understand what they're getting into. Scientific name, Lemna minor for the most common species. This tiny floating plant's native to basically everywhere except Antarctica because it's just that adaptable and aggressive. Duckweed is like the smallest plant in the hobby. Individual plants are tiny green ovals about the size of an uncooked rice grain with single wispy roots hanging down. Sounds innocent enough, right? Wrong. This plant has 0 chill, and it will take over your tank faster than you can say oops. The reproduction rate is terrifying. Each plant can double the population through budding every few days under good conditions. So what starts as a cute handful of tiny green floaters will become a complete surface takeover within a week. It's giving exponential growth energy that would make mathematicians weep. The benefits are legit though. Duckweed is an absolute nutrient-absorbing machine that can handle heavy bioloads and help control algae by blocking light and consuming excess nutrients. It provides excellent cover for surface-dwelling fish and creates natural feeding opportunities since the plant is edible itself for many fish species. But here's the thing that makes duckweed absolutely chaotic. Once you have it, you got it forever. This plant will stick to everything. Your hands, your nets, your other plant, your equipment. It'll hitchhike to other tanks on wet equipment and establish itself faster than you can react. People literally developed and sell specialized tools for removing specifically duckweed because it's that persistent. And not only does it get everywhere, it's practically indestructible. Temperature extremes? Nah, it doesn't care. Poor water quality? Still thriving. No nutrients? Oh, it'll survive on practically nothing until conditions improve. It's like a cockroach in the terms of survival ability. Now, duckweed can be beneficial in the right setup, particularly outdoor ponds or tanks where you specifically want maximum nutrient control. Well, most aquarists end up regretting the decision because management becomes a constant battle. This plant, it earns its D tier placement. Not because it's bad at being a plant, but because it's almost too good at being a plant, and it'll dominate everything else in your tank. Now, Bucephalandra is absolutely serving luxury plant energy, and honestly, it's giving designer handbag vibes in the best way possible. This genus is endemic to Borneo, where it grows attached to rocks and fast-flowing streams, and is absolutely taking the aquascaping world by storm over the past decade. What makes Buse absolutely stunning is the incredible variety in colors, patterns, and leaf shapes. You got varieties with deep green leaves, others with blue or purple iridescence, some with pink or red highlights, and then you got patterns that range from solid colors to amazing variegated designs. The leaves often have this gorgeous metallic sheen that is mesmerizing under aquarium lighting. The plant is surprisingly easy to care for considering how expensive and fancy it looks. Buse is another epiphyte that attaches to hardscape rather than being planted in substrate. And honestly, it's pretty forgiving about water parameters and lighting conditions. It can thrive in low to medium light setups and doesn't require CO2, though both will boost growth and coloration. What's really cool about Bucephalandra is that it's a slow grower, which means less maintenance and more time to appreciate those intricate details of each leaf. The plant occasionally produces these tiny flowers that are just absolutely precious, and the slow growth means it won't quickly outgrow your aquascape design. Duckweed. The main consideration with Buse is honestly the price point. Yeah, individual plants can cost anywhere from $20 to over $100 depending on the variety and size, which that's wild when you're just starting out in the hobby. Rare varieties with unique colorations or patterns come in premium prices that might make your wallet cry. For beginners who are budget conscious, Buse might not be the most practical choice for you, even though it is genuinely easy to care for. You can start with more affordable plants and work your way up to Buse once you got more experience and disposable income. The plant earns its C tier placement not because it's difficult, but because the cost can be too prohibitive for new aquarists who are still figuring out their preferences. Now, Amazon sword plants are giving wrong place, wrong time energy, and it's kind of tragic because they're actually gorgeous plants with beginner-friendly care requirements. Scientific name, Echinodorus bleheri. These plants are native to the Amazon basin and have been popular in the aquarium hobby for decades now. The plant produces these beautiful sword-shaped leaves that emerge directly from a central crown, creating this lovely rosette growth pattern. When healthy and established, Amazon swords are absolutely stunning centerpiece plants, and they can add some serious visual impact to larger aquascapes. The bright green coloration and architectural leaf shape make them perfect for creating focal points. Amazon swords are genuinely beginner-friendly in terms of care requirements. They can handle a wide range of water parameters, grow well in moderate lighting conditions, and they don't require CO2 to thrive. The plants are heavy root feeders, so they benefit from nutrient-rich substrates or regular root tab fertilization, but they're pretty forgiving if you forget occasionally. Here's where things get problematic though. Amazon swords are massive when mature. We're talking plants that can easily reach 20 inches tall and spread almost as wide. And that's way too much plant for most home aquariums. In a standard 20-gallon tank, a mature Amazon sword would completely dominate the space and shade out everything else. The plant also sends out runners that produce daughter plants, so if you're not careful, you'll end up with multiple massive sword plants competing for space. While this is great for propagation, it can quickly overwhelm smaller setups. Amazon swords work best in large tanks, think 75 gallons or bigger, where they have the room to reach their full potential without overwhelming everything else. In smaller tanks though, you'll spend most of your time trimming out leaves to keep the plant manageable, which defeats the purpose of having such a beautiful specimen plant. This plant definitely earns its C tier placement, because while it is easy to care for, the size requirements make it impractical for most beginner setups. Now, if you've got a large tank and you want a stunning centerpiece plant, Amazon Sword delivers. But for typical starter tanks, there are better options that won't outgrow your space. Let's talk about Bacopa. It's given reliable middle child energy, and we absolutely respect that vibe. Scientific name, Bacopa caroliniana. This stem plant is native to the southern United States and has been quietly serving aquascapers for decades without demanding too much attention or drama. The plant has this lovely upright growth pattern with small, rounded, bright green leaves arranged opposite of each other along sturdy stems. What's really cool about Bacopa is that under higher lighting conditions, the tips of the leaves develop this gorgeous copper red coloration that adds amazing color contrast to planted tanks. I'm excited. I mean, Bacopa is perfect for beginners because it's honestly pretty forgiving about care requirements. It can handle moderate lighting conditions, doesn't absolutely require CO2, though it does appreciate it, and responds well to liquid fertilizers. The plant prefers nutrient-rich substrates but can adapt to various setups with proper fertilization too. One of the best things about Bacopa is its growth rate. Fast enough you see consistent progress, but not so aggressive that it requires constant maintenance. When you trim the tops, those cuttings can be replanted to propagate new plants, so you get excellent value for your initial purpose. The plant works exceptionally well as a background or mid-ground element in smaller tanks where larger plants would be overwhelming. It creates nice vertical interest without dominating the entire space, and the bright green coloration provides excellent contrast against darker substrates or hardscape elements. What's really enduring about Bacopa is its reliability. It's not going to give you dramatic melt episodes or suddenly die for mysterious reasons. Plant it, provide decent conditions, and it'll just consistently grow and look good month after month. It's the plant equivalent of that friend who's always been there for you without being high maintenance. If you let Bacopa reach the water surface, it can actually produce these small little white or light blue flowers, which is adorable and adds this unexpected element to your aquascape. This plant definitely earns its B tier place because while it's not as flashy as some of the other options, it's dependable, it's attractive, and it's perfect for beginners who want something that just works without the drama. Christmas moss is honestly Java moss's glow-up era, and it's serving premium moss energy that makes regular Java moss look basic in comparison. This moss right here is native to parts of Asia and has been gaining serious popularity in the aquascaping community for its distinctive growth pattern. What makes Christmas moss absolutely special is its unique little branching pattern that does look like tiny Christmas trees growing in your tank. The fronds have this triangular tiered structure that's way more defined and architectural compared to the irregular growth of regular Java moss. Under good lighting, the detail and branching pattern is honestly mesmerizing. The moss attaches itself to hardscape, just like other mosses using rhizoids, but Christmas moss tends to grow in more defined, organized patterns rather than the chaotic spreading of Java moss. This right here makes it perfect for creating structured moss walls or covering specific areas of driftwood that you want to look organized and manicured. Christmas moss does require slightly more attention than Java moss though, and it appreciates better lighting conditions to maintain a distinctive growth pattern. And it does benefit from occasional liquid fertilizer dosing to keep the coloration vibrant and growth healthy. The plant also seems to be a little more sensitive to poor water quality, and it can start looking a little rough if you slack on maintenance. What's real cool is that shrimp go crazy for Christmas moss. The dense structured growth provides incredible grazing opportunity and hiding spots that make shrimp tanks look absolutely premium. Breeding shrimp particularly love the tight branching structure for protecting babies, and the growth rate is moderate. Faster than Anubias, but slower than stem plants, so you get some steady progress without constant trimming requirements. When you do need to trim, the cuttings can be attached to new locations. You guessed it, spread the moss around your tank or share with other aquarists. Break bread, baby. Christmas moss is definitely more expensive than regular Java moss, and it can be harder to find, but if you want that premium moss aesthetic and you don't mind spending a bit more, it's worth it. The plant earns its B tier placement because while it's more demanding than Java moss, it provides upgraded aesthetics that can really elevate your aquascaping game. And that, my friends, is the T on beginner aquarium plants. Start with S tier, A tier if you're new to this chaos, and work your way up to drama queens once you've got experience. Remember, the best plant is the one that won't become expensive compost in your tank. Drop your biggest plant fails in the comments because misery loves company, and smash that subscribe button if this saved you from making terrible aquatic choices. Until next time, keep those plants thriving and those fish happy, happy, happy. See ya.